Hello and welcome to this session, which is all about how your clothes can help you feel good. So if you've been made redundant, possibly one of the last things on your mind is going to be your wardrobe. But with me today is Sue Donnelly of SueDonnelly.com, who is going to be explaining how you can use your wardrobe to help you feel better after redundancy. And we'll also be talking about your clothes and job interviews as well. So lots coming up. So welcome, Sue.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So okay. So you have been made redundant. There's lots of things going on in your head. You might be worried about finances. You've got to actually think about getting another job. Plus, you've got all the grief and all the emotions that come with losing your past job. Why clothes? How can clothes make a difference?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background first, and then maybe we can come to that. I was trained as an image consultant many years ago, where basically, the premise was you suit these certain kind of colours and you certain kind of style of clothes, and I found that wasn't really helping me. And then I came across this thing called fashion Feng Shui, where they believe that the energy of your clothes makes you feel well if you choose wisely. So looking into this more, I've come across the kind of fact that Feng Shui actually started off as a medicinal practice. And Feng Shui uses the same 5 elements that fashion Feng Shui uses. So whereas to create harmony in the body, the acupuncturist will stick needles in chosen places, so it unblocks the energy, if you like, so you become well. Wearing certain colours or shapes or fabrics can do the same thing with your clothes. So you can actually be very mindful about changing your energy intentionally if you know what to do. And for me, that has just been the most wonderful thing. So it's not really about having colours that suit you, it's having colours that will suit the energy or the intention that you want each day. So back to your question about feeling probably the more negative responses, I guess, when something as big as redundancy happens, you do get anxious, you do get worried. Fashion Feng Shui can teach you how to just make small adjustments, probably to the clothes that you've already got, so that those negative thoughts become the positive opposites.
Okay.
But you need to bring back into balance.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just about colour. I mean, you all hear the whole thing about, oh, put a bit of bright colours on and a bit of red lipstick and brighten yourself up. It's more than that, isn't it?
I think it is definitely more than that, because, to be really comfortable in your clothes, you have to pick the clothes that are right for you at any one time. And I think, just to give you an example, I'm pretty sure that most of us at some point have gone out in clothes that for whatever reason weren't right that day. Maybe it was inappropriate. You wore something and then realized when you got to wherever it was you were going that other people were in different things. Or you put something on and you spilt your coffee down it, but you can't go back to get changed, so you've got this stain there and you're trying to hide it. Or you put something on and then you're sitting down and you're thinking, oh, this is a little bit tight, it's a bit short, something along those lines. And what happens is all day you are uncomfortable, and that's adding to your stress levels. If you wear clothes that really make you feel like you're coming home, actually you don't have to even worry about your clothes anymore. So you've got more energy to put into what it is you want to get out of that particular day. So clothes to me are your closet is a huge part of feeling well. That's the way I see it. It's much more than just putting something on because it's cold outside. Though, that's always a good thing to do, but it's more than that. It's a tool. For me, it's a tool. It's not about fashion, it's not about trends, it's not about any of those things. It's about dressing who you are at your core, so that regardless of who you're seeing, what you're doing, where you're going, whatever life throws up at you, actually your wardrobe will always support you, because it's you. It's got things in there that really relate to who you are.
Okay. So you mentioned the elements.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, there are 5 elements, and I've got some slides I can show you if you like. Would that help?
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Share my screen with you. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Well, let me go to the 5 elements first, actually. I can always go backwards. So in Feng Shui, and Feng Shui, by the way, is over 3,000 years old, they use the concept of these 5 elements, which they believe are in absolutely everything. And I mentioned medicine before because most people, when you say Feng Shui, they think about somebody coming around your house and moving a pot plant or putting some water somewhere so you can meet the love of your life and earn $1 million, you know, that kind of thing. And whilst that is true, actually it started as a medicinal practice. So all of the organs within the body are related to these 5 elements, as are lots of other things, the time of day, time of year, directions. I mean, so many things are related back to these 5 elements. They all have completely and utterly different characteristics. And in fashion Feng Shui, what we do is relate these particular different characteristics to people and also to clothing choices. But as I said earlier, they are also linked to different kinds of moods as well. So if I just show you each one separately, just so that you get the kind of drift of this. So water then, we think of water as a very kind of deep, dark, reflective type of quality, I guess. And when it's out of sync, what will happen is that people become fearful. The organs that they're related to are the kidneys and the adrenal glands, and the adrenals are our kind of powerhouse, and if they go out of sync, we get very stressed very easily. So fear is something that happens a lot if your water is out of balance, and you can feel very vulnerable because of that, you know, as though you're under attack almost. And I guess the other thing that comes across when your water's out of balance is you're oversensitive. So somebody says something, probably not meaning anything bad, but you take it, you know, you really take it in. Water is one of these elements that takes in anything around it. So if you imagine a glass of water, for instance, and you pour some orange juice in, it turns orange, you know, so it takes in whatever it thinks is around there. So it can become highly sensitive. And water hates being constrained. Water is, you know, it likes to go with the flow. It likes to be freely available. And when it's out of balance, it can almost make people feel like they're in a bit of a prison. And I guess with lockdown as well as redundancy, there could be quite a lot of that going on at the moment. So these are the kind of feelings that maybe, you know, some of the people who are going to be listening into this will feel that is happening to them. And I will tell you later how you can move these into the more positive things just by changing some element of your clothing. So when we're looking at water, the good things about water, when water's in balance, it helps you be creative. So I'm not just talking about things like, you know, getting your easel out, your paints, though apparently I was reading in the paper yesterday, Christopher Kane, the fashion designer, at the start of lockdown, said that he felt really under pressure because obviously he wasn't going to be designing any more clothes, and he got his paints out. He spent 4 months being very artistic and creative with his painting, and now those paintings have become new fabrics for his new collection.
Wow.
So sometimes, you know, bringing out something that you're not always able to do can help you get to where you want to get in the end. But creativity could also be finding creative solutions to your problems, you know, and looking at things, looking at this redundancy in a different way maybe, or looking at what kind of job you really want, not the job that you think that you want. It allows you to just be. So instead of taking on all the stresses and strains of the day, it means that you can just literally be in that very calm, peaceful kind of place where none of the problems get a look in. You know, you can kind of put them in a box and shut the lid. It will also make you more spiritual if that's some way that you want to go. Certainly when I go into water, yoga seems to be, instead of going to the gym, I do yoga instead. It seems to help me in some way. And also more kind of, if you haven't got sensitivity, then maybe you can get some sensuality this way by looking at the water element. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's a lot of these things.
When you say out of balance, do you mean too little or too much, or both?
It could be either, actually. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's a good thing to say. It could be you've got too much water, or it could be that you've got too little. You know, everything is a balancing act, and what fashion feng shui and feng shui in general always wants to do is to try and create balance, because that's the way that harmony flows. If anything's out of balance, even if it's a good thing, you know, there is a saying, isn't there, you can have too much of a good thing. Because too much of a good thing can often tip into actually something quite negative if it carries on for too long. We only have to think of addictions, I guess, to put that one into context. So that's water. With wood, it's a very different thing, actually. Wood is more of a dynamic kind of element, really. And it's related to the liver and the gallbladder. And when the liver's out of sync, it can get very angry. You only have to ask somebody who drinks too much, actually, or watch somebody that's had too much to drink, to see that sometimes they can get very aggressive. And the liver is our purifying organ. You know, it gets rid of all the dross in the body and tries to purify everything. So, you know, for some people, if they're made redundant or something awful is happening, they can be very fearful. Other people get very frustrated and very angry. You know, perceived anger about why me, or something along those lines. Why not somebody else? So impatience, being irritable, all of those kind of frustration, kind of more negative emotions are bound up with an imbalance of wood. And again, if we look at the good things that wood can do, it can motivate you to take action, because wood is an action type of element. So it's a good starter. You know, if you're never really sure what to do, as a coach, I always tell people, well, start something, even if it's the wrong thing. It stops the procrastination, you know, and wood is something that can help you do that. Wood is also very good, if there's anybody listening that has somebody else that's in a particular negative state and they want to motivate them. Coaches, many coaches have a lot of wood in their own persona. I'm thinking people like Anthony Robbins, for instance, probably would be wood off the chart. They tend to be these energizer bunnies, you know, that never stop, but they always see the best in other people. And so taking action and motivating other people is good. Also, it brings around a level of assertiveness, and I think many of us can be tarred with the passive-aggressive brush. I know, you know, I can, you know, you don't say anything, but you're, you know, seething inside, and then when you do say something, it's actually, you know, quite an angry thing. So instead of going to either of those directions, wood can actually make you more assertive. So you're saying what you want to say, but in a non-emotional way. Lockdown, you know, lockdown and the lardy lockdown, as I call it, you know, most of us have put on a few pounds, I think, really. And again, if you are feeling a little bit overweight or even underweight, it doesn't always help you to feel your best. And wood can help you with any health related goals. So it is good for looking at healthy eating and, you know, bringing everything into check, maybe getting some more exercise, which again is a good thing. Going out and about, getting some fresh air or doing whatever you do can also help you feel better in your mind. It's good for learning. Sometimes, you know, when people are going through a redundancy, I think learning something new or adding to what you already know isn't a bad use of your time, and any kind of goal setting. So that's the reason that wood is there. I think it's interesting, actually, when you see people who are going through something that's not, you know, of their own choosing, and something that's not a positive in their lives, how they do show up. And you must have seen this yourself, I guess, when you've been interviewing people, that, you know, people have different reactions to redundancy and losing their job. And I think it's important, isn't it, that we kind of recognise that not everybody's the same. With fire, fire is kind of, we see this as an attraction magnet, really, because you can't help but see or feel fire. But if you have, you know, an imbalance of it, this is hysteria and panic, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what happens if you've got too much fire, and can also be confusing actually. Especially in the areas of communication. Fire is a communicator, it likes to connect with people. But if you have too much fire, you can babble. You know, this over talking way, you know, you're not stopping for breath. You know, people saying, Sue, please breathe, you're going to die. That kind of thing can happen. And of course, that's the last thing that you want when you're being interviewed by somebody for a job, that you just cannot stop talking. You know, you're not answering the question, you're kind of telling lots of stories. And, you know, that all has its place, but over talking and babbling and going over and over the same things all the time isn't a good thing. When fire is flowing freely, it is about charisma. It is about showing up on stage, maybe being the presenter, being the celebrity, being the famous person, being able to connect with your audience, whoever that might be, in a way that's, you know, often best for them. And bringing some enthusiasm, excitement, joy, love of what you're doing into your life. And I think for many of us, lockdown has killed that. Yes. You know, there's not much joy sometimes of getting out of bed every day with nothing to do but maybe look for jobs, or, you know, homeschool the kids, or whatever it is that you know has been forced upon us. So bringing fire back into your life will bring some of that passion, joy, enthusiasm, curiosity maybe back into your life. Earth is something that we all need, but sometimes take it for granted because it's probably not quite as exciting, shall we say, as the other one, because Earth is our foundation. It's where we put our feet every day, and we do take it for granted. When it's out of sync, it can cause what I call the stuck thinking. So the same thing is going through your mind time after time after time. You can't just seem to get rid of it. It's just there, like on a loop, on a wheel all the time.
Washing machine thinking.
Yeah, and it's being over anxious. It's being very worried all the time, and not being able to get past that really. And it can also show up as being very stubborn. So even if you've got somebody who is really trying to be helpful, and they keep going on and on and on, as some of us do, you know, the person with Earth out of balance will actually, you know, arms crossed, heels into the ground, and won't move. Even if inside they know it's the right thing to do, they won't do it because, you know, I want to find my own way, maybe. When it's in harmony, wow, it's a fabulous, fabulous element to have, because it means you are grounded. Some of the energy is from the head into the feet. So the worry goes down, it sinks down, and you become more nurturing of yourself and of other people as well, you know, more caring of yourself as an individual. And trust, which I guess is something that could well have gone when you've been made redundant, you know, especially if you've given everything to that company or that job, and suddenly, you know, you feel like you're being thrown on the scrap heap. That trust can go, and Earth needs to regain that. It's a very important element of Earth. And it may be as well that you start to find a community, you know, a community of people that you can all help each other, which again, I think is really important in lockdown. Yeah. When you're being made redundant. It gives you some stability, it gives you some safety. And then last but not least, we have metal. We all need a bit of this really, because it's about getting organized. But when it's out of kilter, and I know friends who have been through this, they've lost their jobs and they've just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, cried their eyes out, with guilt, with shame, with sorrow, you know, lots of different reasons why they're crying. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think sometimes if you want to cry, you should. I'm not ever suggesting that any of these emotions are wrong in any way. I think if that's what you need to do, then let's do it. And in fact, if you can't cry, it might be good to put some metal in to get yourself to cry. But it's about also being inflexible. So, you know, if something else was offered you maybe within that workplace, you may say no when actually maybe saying yes would have been a better idea. So when it's in kilter, it's about organizing your diary, organizing yourself. What fashion feng shui really believes is having a wardrobe full of clothes that don't serve you. Actually, all this clutter, whether it's clothes or any other thing that you own really, it means that you get stuck. You can't move forward. You know, you need space basically in your life. Otherwise there's no space to go into. There's nothing to fill up with new things. So organizing your clothes, organizing your kitchen, whatever it is, your bookshelves, whatever it is always a good thing. It's about looking for excellence in what you do, maybe refining yourself in some way, you know, less is more and all of that. Courage, giving yourself courage, and maybe even leadership qualities. A lot of leaders have a lot of metal qualities, and letting go basically of anything that doesn't hold dear for you, nothing that suits you right now. Be prepared to let go of it, and trust that something better will take its place. Does that make sense as an overview?
Yeah, it's interesting with even the word metal makes me think of brittleness.
Yes, yeah, and you know what? In fashion feng shui, we do, as I said, and I haven't got time to go through all of this today because it's too long a process, but we do ask clients to equate their own personalities, you know, what they can't give up really with these. And interestingly, metal can be seen as brittle. So people with a lot of metal can come across as aloof, you know, reserved, and not perhaps very personable. But actually that's often because they're shy. Yeah. And if you think about metal, actually, if you add a bit of fire to it, it can be very malleable. It can change shape quite easily, but it still retains its integral qualities. So it's kind of what it's put with, how it gets together with other people, other elements, can make it look very different. Yeah, but brittle, it can be seen as brittle.
Yeah, okay, so we have the elements.
Right, so basically then, how can we put this into the wardrobe, I guess is what you're asking really. So we call this kind of intentional dressing really. It's about being really mindful about what you want each day. It can be a big thing, it can be a small thing. A big thing can be, I want to earn so much money, or I want to get this particular job, or I want to work in this particular industry. It could be small, like today, I just want to feel nurtured. Today, I want to do some exercise, you know, so something small. And we say where focus goes, energy flows. So whatever you put your mind to, that's where the energy will go. And if you can put your mind and your energy and your focus when you're opening up your wardrobe each morning to put something on that helps you align with that, you are more likely to do it. And that's just kind of proven really. So there are 5 different things that you can do to add any of these elements to your clothing. And as I said before, one of the questions that I get asked quite often is, well, you know, it's lockdown, I'm not earning any money. How can I, you know, afford to buy new clothes for an interview? Well, it may be that you don't have to. It may be that what you need is actually in your wardrobe right now, especially as, you know, most of us are on this little square, which is a couple of inches at most really. So, you know, all we're going to see is the kind of top of you anyway. So it may be that that's enough, as long as all of this is groomed and you've got something nice on, you know, from the shoulders down, that should be enough. But you can choose from any of these at all. So you can choose from the hue. What I mean by that is the color. A pattern, a silhouette. So the silhouette can be the shape of the garment, as much as anything else, a texture or a fabric. Any of those will work, any of them. So if you wanted to balance your water, so that means that you want to become more creative, more calm, have more peace, be a bit more spiritual or sensual, and get rid of all those more negative fear, vulnerability, constraint type feelings. Any of these can be worn. So today I've got dark colours on. which means I'm much more able to go with the flow, which is something that I found for me to be really useful in lockdown, because I think most of us don't have much control for what's happening out there. So I found that wearing these darker colours and allowing me to just go with what is helps me be less stressed, if that makes sense. So any black or dark colour will help. So it can be a burgundy, it could be a forest green, navy blue, black, chocolate brown, anything like that. If you don't like any of those colours, and a lot of people don't, then you could actually go for a shape. So anything asymmetrical, what do I mean by that? Any kind of pattern that isn't uniform. So I can't see what you've got on there, Paula, but I think the dress might be a bit, is it a kind of random pattern, a more abstracty type pattern?
Yeah, it's sort of vaguely animal printy.
All right, well that goes perhaps into a different category then.
Okay.
But anything, like I've got here this paisley pattern, right? It looks like little fish to me, but it wouldn't be the same on the left as the right. It would be all very random. So anything that's a little bit like that will work. Or it can be the actual design of the clothing. So for instance, if you've got a fastening that goes diagonally across the body, for instance, if a man's suit, and this happens quite often, has maybe 2 pockets on one flap and only 1 on the other, that's asymmetrical. Or it's just got the ticket pocket on one side and not the other. That is bringing some asymmetry into your outfit. For a woman, a shirt that's longer at the back than the front. Anything where it's not straight lines. Yeah. That's what water like. Water does not like anything horizontal or blunt or constrained at all. And in terms of fabrications, if we think about water just flowing through your hands, generally it's fairly see-through. So a really light or flowy type of material is the material that water pretty much likes the best. And the whole feel of water is creative. The whole feel is something that is unique to you, that's a little bit different, that's a little bit more creative. That's how water is. Water doesn't really like being anything like anybody else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So I think, you know, there may not be everything in your wardrobe, but I'm pretty sure that most people have a dark colour somewhere. And so that's all you'd have to do. Yeah, that's all you'd have to do. And it can even be, you know, it doesn't have to be even your clothing. It can be accessories. So a black shoe, that would work, you know. If you've got glasses, black glasses, I've chosen red glasses today, but I could have worn black glasses, and it just adds a different energy to the whole outfit. And if people don't believe me with this, I think even if you see pictures of somebody in an outfit in one colour and then in another colour, you can actually see the differences. And I often say to people, it's not how you look in your clothes so much, it's how you feel in your clothes that is the most important thing. And I remember years ago, an image professional that I really admired, who unfortunately is no longer with us, she used to also always advise when you were getting dressed, to get dressed, whether it's buying new clothes or clothes you've got already, without a mirror, to see how you felt in them first. And actually, it's not a bad experiment to do, especially if you're somebody that is a bit more intuitive and you know, more of a mood dresser than somebody who plans their outfits every single day. It's a good thing to try. So with wood is about taking action, being motivated, learning, being more assertive really, and getting rid of all those angry, frustration, irritability feelings. So here we're looking at the colours of plants and sky, pretty much what's going on outside my window today. So blue skies, green leaves, the middle of the road colours, not light, not dark, somewhere in the middle. The whole shape is a straight, like a plant, straight up and down. So that could be, you know, a straight dress. In terms of shirts and things, it could be stripes. It could be a pinstripe suit. This particular pinafore dress I've got on, you can't really see, but it's got some stripes in the material. So like corduroy or needle cord, it's in the material, and it's also got some squares on there as well. So that's actually in the fabrication. But it's also cotton, which is a plant-based fabrication, and anything that's cotton, so a cotton shirt, denim jeans, if you've got any jeans at all, whatever colour, you're adding some wood into your outfit. And a floral pattern will also fit into here. And the whole feel of this wood is not a creative, unique expression of yourself like water. This is more of an active, healthy, need to move kind of expression. Wood is a very quick element. And so anything that you dress within the wood environment needs you to be able to move. So it's more of a jeans and sneaker rather than a really unusual necklace and a hat with bother boots kind of thing that was going on with the water. So it's a little bit different. But, you know, for a man, even if you've got to, you know, dress up for an interview with a suit, for instance, you could choose a blue or green tie or a striped shirt, and that would put the wood in if that's what you feel that you need. You've got a cardigan on today that's olive green, right?
Yeah.
That's your wood.
Okay.
You've got some wood on today. And the rest of you is fire, because this is to do with the animal print, as you can see from the picture here. So fire is something that we can't help but see, and it does like to attract attention. So it goes without saying that the colours that we look at are bright colours here. So you know, people do mention that red is an uplifting type of energy, and it is. I don't really wear a lot of red, but it's rare that you see me without my lipstick on. And you know, so I'm putting my fire into my face, if you like. And I do have a red pair of glasses today, but you know, that I could change them. But bright reds, bright pinks, so the magentas, fuchsias, bright oranges, bright yellows, cobalt blues, purples, the colours of a flame, that's what your fire is. And if you remember, the wrong side of fire is hysterical actions, panic, being hyper, if you like. The good fire is about enjoying everything, being curious, having enthusiasm and passion back again, and having some charisma and maybe becoming a bit of a celebrity. Yeah. The shape is a pointed shape, a V shape. So that could be a pointed shoe, you know, a toe of a shoe. It could be a V-neck, could be as simple as that, actually. And it's life or light based. So anything from an animal, whether that's a print like you've got on today, an animal print, or something from an animal, even if it isn't real. So it could look like leather, it could look like suede, it could look like fur or feathers, but it could be the vegan or, you know, alternative versions. As long as it looks like that, you're bringing some fire in. So I can't think there's many of us that don't have leather or leather look shoes. Yeah. Or suede shoes. So every time you put those shoes on, then you're adding some fire into your outfit. So if you've got an interview and you want some fire, don't sit with no shoes on. Yeah, of course you can ask me a question. Yeah, go on.
Just thinking about in a job interview context. So I can see how, you know, a bit of fire can, you know, shows you up and you know, give you that energy. But it strikes me there might be a danger in too much fire, and then, you know.
Well, this is what I would say. Okay, I think that whenever I'm looking at somebody to look at their wardrobe, and I'll just point out here as well, whenever I work with anybody, they make the choices, I don't. So I just want to make that clear. Many image consultants actually tell you things. I don't tell anybody anything. We work together on uncovering that. But I think if somebody's got too much fire and that's the way they are naturally, then my view is, rightly or wrongly, that's the way that they should come across, because they want a job environment where that is embraced. They want to be part of a team where their fire is embraced. If it isn't embraced, then basically that fire's damped out or put out. How comfortable and how enjoyable is that job going to be long term? Probably not. I think if somebody doesn't have any fire and they want to put some in, I think personally they'd probably be feeling uncomfortable if they were to put too much fire in their clothing. I think, you know, straight away they'd be thinking, I look like a pantomime dame, I look ridiculous. So hopefully they would take that on board and go, this is way too much. I only need a little bit to make sure that I am enthusiastic, because I've had months of not feeling enthusiastic for whatever reason, and I just need to come across as a bit more lively than I feel. And so a small thing, and it doesn't even have to be on show, Paula. Leopard skin underwear, red underwear, red shoes. Nobody can see it, but it might give you that edge that you want without you feeling like I've gone over the top now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it doesn't mean that any of these things actually have to be seen by anybody else. They can be hidden away. They can even be a fabrication. So as I said, it can be fabrics. Silk, for instance, is made from a silkworm, which is live. So it could be silk. It could be leather. It could be any of the things that we take, you know, that we wear every day for granted. Another thing, if the person is a little bit more refined and doesn't really like the kind of more blingy, obvious elements of fire, is pearl earrings, because pearls come from an oyster, which is live. So pearl earrings actually, which can be, can't they, quite sedate, quite elegant, would fit very well into this, and also metal as well. It's the one that covers both. So if you do feel that you want some fire, but all of this is all a bit too much, pearl earrings might fit the bill.
Interesting.
There's something for everybody, whoever you are. I mean, the thing is, when you find out who you are and what your clothing choices are really all about, and they align with you, it's like being in the middle of a wheel, really, and everything around that wheel spins around it. There is nothing that stays the same. You know, your relationships don't stay the same. Your lifestyle doesn't stay the same, and that includes your job. Your appearance actually doesn't stay the same for the most part. I mean, I've gone grey, you know, I wasn't grey as a kid. So obviously my appearance has changed, and your intention changes. So if you imagine that as a wheel with you at the center, the only thing that doesn't really change is you, but what you have to do is adapt to all those things that are changing. But if you can adapt as you still, and choose the clothes that help you still feel like you, I think it will be a better experience than feeling like you're out of kilter. And that's where this all comes in, really. In terms of earth, and a lot of people have needed this to feel grounded, especially people like me who live in my head. Earth is something I have very little of. I hate all of these colours with a passion. They don't suit me. I don't like them. So why would I wear them? But they are, you know, what I call the earth tones, literally. The mustard yellows, the ochres, the tans, the caramels, you know, that kind of dirty brown, rusty, orangey kind of colour. Don't like any of them. So if I do earth, I won't be going to the colour for it. Yeah. Like them. What I don't mind is squares. And as I said, this pinafore dress has got squares in it as well. You can't see them unless you get really close up, but the energy is there. So I've got some wood and I've got some earth energy in this pinafore dress, which is, you know, very useful, really. And I do like a tartan, I do like a plaid. And it doesn't have to be boring, actually. If you think of designers like Vivienne Westwood, for instance, she uses a lot of plaid in her very creative, dramatic kind of designs, but she uses these fabrics because part of Vivienne Westwood actually is her ethics about the planet. You know, she really does have quite a strong stance on global warming and climate change and all of those kind of things. So maybe, you know, that's her way of putting earth into her outfits, I don't know. But even a square pocket on a jacket, you know, that would work too. And the fabrications tend to be a little bit, you can feel them, they're napped, they're knobby. So sweaters that are chunky and comforting, you know, scarves, those kind of things, felt, gabardine, and also traditional type things. So the trench coat, the ubiquitous trench coat. Forget about the new pink trendy ones with green spots on, but you know, the ones that last forever. Earth is a little bit like that. You know, they like to buy things that are traditional, that will last, that don't go out of date, that aren't trendy. Whereas fire is more of a dramatic dresser. This is definitely classic, traditional. And then last but not least, this is about the metal. This is about refinement. This is about elegance, you know, quality. And it might be enough for somebody just to upscale what they've got already by putting on, you know, nice jewelry instead of costume jewelry or something along those lines. But these colours are the lighter tones, the pastels, the whites, the pale greys, or the metallics. Anything metallic, so whether it's a watch or an earring or a ring, adds in some metal. because it is more elegant, again, the shapes are more rounded. So a rounded hem on a jacket, a rounded lapel rather than a pointed lapel, a rounded flap on the pocket. Anything round. My glasses have some metal because they're a round shape. Watch faces are often round, so you can add something in that way. If it's square, then it'll be more earth. And the whole lot is really understated elegant. So it's refined, shimmering, not shouty. There's nothing shouty about metal. And generally, the whole metal way of dressing doesn't really like pattern unless it's something like a really muted polka dot. So there's no shouty here at all. So just by refining your whole outfit to maybe a monochromatic look can help with that. So, and that is, as we said before, sorry, I didn't put the emotions around that. This is really about courage, leadership, organization. So again, if anybody's listening to this and thinks, I really need to sort out my closet, I really need to sort out my cupboards, metal is what you need intentionally. And everybody usually finds once they've started to clear out the stuff that no longer serves them, whatever that is, including people actually, it makes space for the new stuff, and gets rid of any guilt, inflexibility or grief, sorrow.
Okay.
Oops, sorry, I've got a mouse that does its own thing here.
I have to say that sort of brown fabric on the previous slide reminds me of that very traditional, those sort of lecturer's jacket, you know, the ones.
Yes, yeah. And you know, that's obviously sometimes how we see dons, you know, teachers like that don't care about clothes so much, they care more about tradition. I just put these 3 pictures up here because it was just a little bit of how I moved through lockdown, really, just chunks of my wardrobe. So the first part was all those comforting knits for earth, you know, they're all different colours, but basically I didn't really know what was happening, and I just wanted to feel cared for in a way, you know, protected, safe against the virus. Then the second part of it was more go with the flow. I think I said, you know, I did start to put, it doesn't look very dark on there, but most of those are black or navy blue. And then I had a whole really active period where jeans and stripes and all those kind of things came into force, because I realised I had to do something. I couldn't just sit lounging around for the rest of my life. You know, I need to earn money. And so I had to put a plan of action into effect. And that's what I did. And now I'm kind of training more people than I've ever done before, I think, really, which again is a wood thing. So it's just really how my intention changed through the weeks and months. And of course, I guess it's going to go through all this again if we go into a second lockdown, because, you know, according to the papers today, it could be another 12 or 18 months, which perhaps isn't great. So it's best if we can dress to feel good about that. So I just put together this little slide. And this might help you with any other questions you've got for me. Every time you get dressed, ask yourself these questions, really. How am I feeling today? And that can change every day. And believe me, the older you get, there's definitely different feelings going on, and some of them are more physical, I guess, as you get older. But, you know, what do I want to feel? If it's different to how I'm feeling, what do I want to accomplish today? And what clothing choices will help me with that? And that can be the colour, the pattern, the silhouette, the texture, or the fabric, as I've just gone through. Enclothed cognition is actually something that exists. And it was an experiment done many years ago with a group of students who were given a white lab coat. Each one of them was given the same coat, but then they were split into 2 different camps. One camp was told that they were doctors for the day, and the other camp were told that they were painters and decorators. And they were given the same set of tasks. And believe it or not, I'm sure you will, the doctors came out far better than the painters and decorators, just because they believed that they were, they weren't students, they were actors. Sorry, they were acting in a different way. I beg your pardon. And so there is something with research, you know, backup that says what you wear, as long as you believe that it's going to be something, it will do something for you. And Ellen K. Langer, who is also a professor at Harvard, wrote a whole book saying that if you could be mindful, it makes you more youthful. So I think that's a good enough reason for doing it for me, even if you don't do it for anything else.
Yeah.
You know, so being mindful.
When you post on social media as a mindful dresser, don't you? So
I do. And you know, I haven't always been a mindful dresser. When I was first an image consultant, I guess I was mindful, but it was less about feelings and more about how I look. What do people think if I wear this? You know, well, I'm supposed to wear these particular colours, so I need to wear those particular colours. What was really interesting for me, Paula, and why I changed everything was because if you go back to the traditional image consultant who says these are the colours that suit you, actually the colours that suit me best are the metal colours, and yet I have no metal in me at all. And so, you know, I was dressing in a way that somebody who's very refined would dress. And my heart pounds every time I see white, because I know that within 2 minutes, my coffee's going to be going over it. Do you remember that sitcom years ago with Hyacinth Bouquet? And the next door neighbour used to tremble every time she was invited round. That's how I feel about white. So, you know, to be told that those kind of colours are the colours I wear every day actually didn't make me feel very confident at all. So, you know, that's why, for me, the way I feel in my clothes, which can change every day, is the way that I want to live my life.
Do you think this is reflecting something that's happening in our society now? As in, you know, more in our homes and the way that, you know, way that we look to the outside world, as you say, is captured in this little box.
Yes.
And what's more important actually is how we're feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I think that, you know, there are always going to be people that don't like the way you look. I think that's a given. You know, there's always, with people that look like me, you know, there could be people watching now thinking, wow, I really don't like the way she looks. I don't like her hair and I don't like this. And that's fine. You know, that's the way that it is. And there could definitely be employers that don't like the way somebody looks. But if they don't like the way that you look, then maybe that's not the best job anyway. As long as you feel good, safe, and your talents are there and ready to go, then I think, you know, we owe it to ourselves to pick the tribes that really love the way we are, the way we look, what we're good at, what we bring to the party, if you like. I've seen so many people in my life come to me in jobs that I've discovered that they actually hate. And when we boil it down, it's because of the clothes often. So I've had people who are really creative and artistic confined in black suits with white shirts as they go to the law courts every day. You know, or accountants that are actually in big corporations where the dress code is really that strict, but actually they want to be a little bit more unique. And we've had to find ways to bring in that uniqueness that are so small that only they know they're there.
This is perfect for those people who are made redundant, who are actually thinking about starting a business.
Absolutely.
Because you need all those elements. So one day you might need to be very creative in the planning. So as you say, dress and water. Another day it's about, well, putting it into action, get it organized, the metal, then actually doing it, the wood.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, what I've really found is there are certain things in that process, because as business owners, we have to go through the lot. We know that. And there's certain ones you don't mind doing, and there's others that you really don't like doing. And I think if you can build up your confidence by wearing some clothes that will help you, it actually really helps. It really, really does help. And as I say, I've been doing this now, I guess I was first trained in around 2006-07. I've been doing it in earnest for the last 6 years, I think. The more I do it, the more I realize it's in everything. You know, it is when you discover who you are through these, you know, these elements, you realize that your lens of the world is a particular way, and that maybe other people's is different, of course, but you learn how to make allowances for that. You become a little bit easier to get on with, I think, because you realize there's more than one way to see, to see the world. One of the guys I work with is identical to me, actually, and we get very frustrated with each other. And we fall out with each other, but we know it doesn't last. It lasts about 5 minutes and then we've forgotten it and we're okay again. There's no bearing grudges or anything like that. But the good thing is that we recognize that we can both be a little bit irritable because we both want everything yesterday. And not everybody works like that, do they? Not everybody works like that.
So tell us a little bit about what you do, because you both see people and take them through this process, and you train.
Yes, I train them. Yes, in fact, I train more people now, probably than I do one-to-ones. But yes, I used to go to their places of work or their home. Now, of course, it's all done like this. Because without getting up with all the PPI and the traveling and all those kind of things, it's very difficult now to see people face to face. But yes, I train a lot of people globally, actually, all over the world. I've got quite a lot of Asian clients, as you might expect. And I'm just making inroads into Australia at the moment. Yeah, so it's just something, I think, that once you start to practice it, it becomes part of your everyday existence. And I think for anybody that is in this really, kind of not so great spot of being made redundant, the only advice I can give is try and swing it round so that you can use this as a positive experience. It's very hard, I know. I've been made redundant more than once in the past, and it's a real blow, especially if it was a job you really enjoyed and you put your heart and soul into it. But I think if you can change, you reframe it in some way, it will be helpful. And your clothes can help you to do that. So you haven't got to spend any money. You've just got to put them on and see the magic happen. Yeah.
And like all these things, I know some of the things that I've talked about in the hub and interviewed on, some of the things are quite unusual, and I think this would fall into that camp. It's going to be quite new for people. And anybody watching this who's like, I'm not sure, just
woo-woo. Exactly. I think so. There's so much about energy that we don't really understand. But I do know that, just to give you a little story, and it was one of the things that actually made me realise how important this is. I've already mentioned, right, that I don't like earth colours at all. I just don't like them. And many years ago, I was incredibly tired. Just exhausted. And I had this real passion for a rusty kind of orange, like a burnt orange. And it was kind of really weird because I don't like it. I've never liked it. And yet I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I ate lots of it, pumpkins, squash, carrots, those kind of things, swede. And every time I went into a shop, I was kind of drawn to anything that was this kind of dirty orange colour. And I remember assistants saying, "You look fabulous in that." So, because I kind of didn't really know what was happening, I bought a scarf. I thought, let's play it safe. Yeah. And I remember putting this scarf on and going to the gym, and 3 people stopped me. "You look amazing in that colour." Anyway, because a long story short, eventually I was so tired, I ended up going to an acupuncturist. And he said to me, anyway, put all the needles in, and he said, "Well, you've got a depleted spleen." And I said, "Well, what does that mean?" And he said, "Well, your batteries are flat, basically." And I said, "Okay, what type of organ is the spleen?" He said, "It's an earth organ." And I thought, how interesting. So without knowing it, I was drawn to something that would help me heal. Because the spleen wasn't doing its job properly. And interestingly, whenever I get a little bit under the weather, it's always either my tummy or my spleen are the 2 things that let me down, and they are earth, because I don't really embrace earth as much as I should. So for balance, I do try and put something earth into my outfit every day. And you see this watch? It's got a brown strap. That will do. Yeah, that's all you need. And it's good if you're not sure what you want. That's another tip I'll leave you with. If you're really not sure what to do, put something of everything into your outfit, something from every element, and you will be totally balanced then. And then I think you're confident enough to do whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, that really makes sense. Well, Sue, thank you so much. So SueDonnelly.com, all Sue's details will be below. Mindful Dresser, is that how we would find you?
Is, yeah. Mindful Dresser is my Instagram handle as well, and also I've got a Mindful Dresser Facebook page now too.
Brilliant. Okay, lovely. Well, thank you so much today. And of course, anybody have any questions, you can contact Sue via her site or social media.
Please do. Okay, thank you, Paula.
Thanks.